You know, no matter how many times I see it, I always enjoy that animated tour of campus. And as you can see, we have been busy since we saw you this time last year. This evening, you would hear the insights from our esteemed alumni panel of industry experts. There's an energy at Illinois that is deeply felt. Our alumni, our donors, our faculty and our staff, our research partners, and our students. All of you help create a place of discovery, innovation, and sustained excellence. So welcome to each and every one of you. You are what makes our university a singular place of learning and creation. From our very beginning, we have connected higher education to all segments of society in enormously important ways. And the impact we have made on the world is undeniable and indelible. Today, we celebrate all we have achieved, and we begin to imagine what is yet to come. Wherever you are in this ever-changing world, you can't go a day without feeling the impact from Illinois. From MRIs to web browsers, from YouTube to affordable prosthetics, today and every day, ideas from Illinois truly changed the world. From the day that we were founded, we insisted the world redefine the word impossible. And the panel who will share this stage can individually attest to the ways that they have redefined what is possible. With Illinois, one thing is always true. Our university is a singular place of extraordinary intersections. Tomorrow, with you, with Illinois, lives will be touched and changed, improved, and even saved. Tomorrow, we will change the world with you, with Illinois.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome panel moderator Andreas Kangelaris, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Provost, panelist CJ Desai, Chief Product Officer of ServiceNow, panelist Sanjay Srivastava, Chairman and CEO of Vocarium, and panelist Greg Zier, President of Amazon Lab 126.
Thank you.
CJ, Sanjay, Greg, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. All of you are alumni of one of the best universities in the world. You heard the Chancellor talk about the influence we have had over the last 150 years. So before we get into serious business, what I would like to hear from you, Greg, who grew up in the neighborhood of Urbana-Champaign, is one of those memories from when you were a student at Illinois.
Great. First of all, let me say welcome to everyone. It's so great to see such a great turnout. I'm super impressed. As Andreas mentioned, I grew up on a farm about 25 miles from Champaign-Urbana. It was a dairy farm in a little town called Fisher, and it was a fantastic place to grow up. But man, when I got to campus, it was so huge and so big, I couldn't quite handle it. But one of my best memories was when I was in graduate school there. I had a research assistantship at the Institute for Child Behavior and Development. And we had an engineering shop in the basement, and psychologists would come down and want to do research equipment to measure performance of subjects on certain tasks. And so we had a chance to actually build a test equipment, and we had a sheet metal shop, we had a paint shop, we had an electrical engineering shop, and it was just a fantastic place for a kid who loved to build things. So I had the opportunity to be a real builder there and really apply what I was learning in class to actual equipment and build it. So that was such a blast.
How about you, CJ?
Yes, so just like you, and I was, so it was a big cultural shock for me. I grew up, I came to Illinois when I was 16-year-old. Before that, I grew up in a small town in India, went to college, rural, basically town, rural campus. So coming to Illinois was like, I don't know, it was like being placed from Muhammad to Manhattan or something like that. So big cultural shock, huge. I mean, so one of the things for me I remember, and we joke about it all the time, is most of my memories, of course, as I said, I did most of my growing up in Illinois. So professionally, socially, and everything. And most of the memories are, of course, hanging out with friends. But I had heard in India there's this food called pizza, which is really supposed to be good. So I came to US and I went to the campus, the Pizza Hut, and every day I was go out there and have pepperoni pizza, and I was loving it until someone told me that it's not vegetarian. So that was my, Anyway, lots of memories. First time snowfall, just amazing. And going to Chicago to listen to blues, and B.B. King over at campus, just so many of them.
CJ, what do you remember from Illinois?
So I would say I was a similar experience. First of all, really, really fond memories from Illinois. I grew up in Mumbai, and so I really enjoyed the winters in Illinois. They're awesome. So if you are thinking of going there, you should go between December and March. Highly recommend it. But jokes aside, it is a great school, and I always saw it as a powerhouse of innovation. So when I was there, we had Macs everywhere. And the first thing that I noticed on Macs, we were doing Excel, a bunch of other typical word processing program. Microsoft software still sucked back in 1993. But I saw this thing called Mosaic. And I clicked on Mosaic, and it showed the whole campus map, and I'm like, wow, what a great graphical user interface. And then that started the Silicon Valley revolution. So I felt pretty good that it was developed at Illinois with NCSA. And one last thing I would say, the thing that I'm super appreciative of Illinois and why I'm here today, I was taking classes and graduating towards computer science degree. Illinois was so flexible that my research was at Loomis Lab in physics department, and they allowed me to also finish my business degree. So I'm extremely grateful to University of Illinois.
Excellent. So you came in different times to Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley has changed over the years. So Greg, as you reflect back to when you came here to today, what are the changes you observed in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, well, it's wildly different than in 1985. I moved here in 1985, and there were still a lot of orchards, and there were technology companies. It was great to drive up and down the freeway and see, Intel, Fairchild, Apple. It's great to see those companies, but this was before the internet. We were still arguing about microprocessor instruction sets and trying to figure out, there weren't any standards for instruction sets or any standards for operating systems. But there were some breakthroughs when Bell Labs licensed out and allowed people to start building different versions of Unix. And that let us build some exciting, new, and really interesting systems in a way that was less, I would say, egalitarianism. You could port Unix to your system, and it was relatively the same between different computers. It wasn't just, Convergent had an OS, and Altos had an OS, and every company had their OS. So it was a lot different back then, but such explosive growth. So many more people now. Seems like we're working a little bit higher up the food stack now. When I think about machine learning and computer vision, we're really applying high-level math in a whole different way that was unthinkable at the time when I first came here.
You mentioned AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, cloud computing, big data. We are experiencing a true transformation, a revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, as people call it. Is there something, Sanjay, that makes you excited about that fourth industrial revolution?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the way I think about it, like mobility just drastically reduced the so the cost of distribution, right, of innovation, right, especially technical. And then cloud has drastically reduced the cost of development, right? And then if you add to the fact that IoT is like, making it possible to build this, connect the physical world and big data and machine learning to go and process it. I think this is all happening in a very, very short time, that the fundamental architecture has, sort of the cost of architecture has gone down, the cost of deployment, distribution has gone down. There's so many problems to be solved. As you know, one of the things which I'm still trying to take a shot at is education. But lots and lots of fundamental problems or whatever, which you still haven't touched. I think there's just so much opportunity. And especially, if you look at cloud computing, it is the pace at which the cost is being driven and the infrastructure is improving has been amazing. So I think we will touch. Wall Street Journal has an article about how AI is like, just the voice recognition, right? Is touching so many aspects of our lives or whatever. So I think there's so much to be done.
CJ, anything that makes you nervous about this fourth industrial revolution?
I would say, first of all, I'm seeing, even just sitting in Silicon Valley, how computing is changing other industries. So you look at a lot of innovation in healthcare, you look at a lot of innovation in education and how people consume various courses and other things. But manufacturing with robotics and other, you go through the industry landscape and you see that computing fundamentally is changing how these other industries are evolving. And when I look at genomic sequencing, ability to detect diseases up front because of data and machine learning and other things that I talked about, that is the thing that scares me the most, is about the privacy and the ethics of artificial intelligence and what does it really mean, right? So can we really look at somebody's data? Do we have their permission? Can we look at a specific ethnicity or specific region and do the analysis, and where is that line? And the human-machine interaction, how much cognitive abilities we should allow machine to develop, are some things. It's a very emerging field, which is the ethics of AI, but that is something that concerns me right now.
Interestingly enough, there's so much innovation as you're talking about, and one of the things that I have noticed with our students, they're all of them so nervous about innovation that is not human-centered. And Greg, you come from an area where that innovation has spurred at amazing pace. Do you appreciate that human-centric value that this new generation is putting into innovation?
Well, I'm super glad they are talking about that. I think it's really, really important. There's a motto we have at work, which is start with the customer and work backwards. And all too often when you're brainstorming some new initiative or some new innovation, you say, I can combine these two things and build this new thing, but why? You don't always understand exactly why, to what benefit. So often you wind up with a solution looking for a problem. So I've been lucky enough to learn a lot about industrial design and how you interact with devices and the importance of that interaction and that pride of ownership when you have a new device that brings something special to your life. Think of smartphones. Who would have even imagined those before? So I think it's really great that young people are challenging us and making us think about that sort of innovation that applies to humans and how does it apply to humans. I love that it brings a personal element to it.
I want to brag a little bit about the University of Illinois because, if you allow me, your alma mater, because we are resonating with that expectation of the new generation, and we are starting things that are very different. We have a new College of Medicine at the intersection of engineering, medicine, and big data analytics, and the humanities, in ways that not many people could appreciate what the impact is going to be. But under that umbrella, we see people talking, our faculty talking about democratizing, that's the word, democratizing innovation for health. The appreciation that every human being is touched by health, and everyone has ideas of what to do in order to advance their well-being, but other people's well-being. So this democratization of health is something that is is causing lots of excitement. And I ask people, what do you exactly mean? And they don't give me a straight answer. So I would like to hear, Sanjay, what do you think that means? Democratizing innovation in healthcare or other areas, in your mind?
So, just going back to a little bit about the human-centered innovation, I just want to make a point. So when I started out my career, in chip design, right? So innovation was, and I realized that I'll come back to the question for a second, but innovation was pretty easy to think about. Like you said, okay, if you want to deliver something, if you deliver something which was led our customers to deliver chips at lower power, time to market, better cost or whatever than you want or whatever. And we should have been thinking about humans using our tools, but we rarely did. But when you come to education, and one of the things this is kind of what I'm trying to do right now, and one thing which I noticed that when you're looking at innovation, still there's a tendency to abstract the human beings out. And so obviously we all believe that education, you can't take the humans out. So you abstract it out and you come up with a model which says, okay, people want to learn, personalized learning, or everyone has a different style of learning, and you sort of make that assumption, and then you start investing. And at that point, the human is abstracted out or whatever. And I do see that a lot of waste, because the human beings are abstracted out of the innovation thinking or design too soon or whatever, right? So that was at least one point. But going back to, I think the tools of, one of the good things in going back to the whole plugging in for our cloud vendors, we have made innovation like super accessible, right? So, but still there's a lot more to be done, right? And I think you were making the point, how do we make AI more accessible? How do we make data science more accessible or whatever? To truly democratize the tools, at least the tools of innovation, we need to do a lot more, right? So you can, I had a couple of days ago at one of the conferences, the CIO of a large university system came to me and said, if you are a researcher in astronomy or biology, you are being asked to really interact with compute, but even today, compute is not that accessible or whatever, right? So even at that level or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think going back, not because obviously it's cheap, and you can go just create an account, but going back to democratizing it, I think we need a lot more to do, right?
Okay, so I will continue on that. CJ, I believe I introduced you to our director of the Siebel Center for Design. Mm-hmm. Rachel Switzky. And one of the other new things we're doing at Illinois is we're trying to provide students with the opportunity to take their passions, irrespective of what their disciplinary interest might be, and combine it with expertise of people all over campus in ways that nothing is interpreted as an obstacle. If they have an idea, you will find the team to make it happen. Do you think this is a good thing that the University of Illinois is doing? Or would you suggest doing something different?
So I would say, first of all, and I did ask this question after your introduction, is how would you define success in something like this? So the point is being made is design should be embedded into most of the curriculum, whether the curriculum is on liberal arts and science coursewares or whether it's engineering or any other disciplines. And design is important if you understand who is the person, or the end of the day human, who are going to use it. And right now, design is an afterthought in a lot of areas, not all areas, but design is an afterthought in a lot of areas. And Apple fundamentally changed by making it so easy, all the way from starting with mouse to using fingers for iPhone. And I will just tell you, purely being in Silicon Valley, the number one, if you ask Google, if you ask my organization, we have higher requirement for design people than software engineers. Period, full stop. So we are hiring design people at a higher pace than we are hiring software engineers. The problem is there are not enough design people. And so, that learning, I'm excited that University of Illinois is addressing that. There are very few universities who have addressed this problem head on. Like there are the classic RISD and a bunch of other schools, but if Illinois can make it part of the core curriculum and people come with design thinking, which at the end of the day, all of you remember your experiences. Whether you drive a car, whether you use a software, whether you use a hardware product, you don't know who made it, but the experience is something you always remember. So I'm a fan that if you can really execute on this, it will be just good for the society.
Excellent. Greg, do you agree?
I totally agree. Yeah, totally learned that, especially in playing with reference to Macintosh, right, with the GUI interface, or some of the work that was done at PARC with the Xerox Star. So that interaction, and I think it just goes back to the other question too. Do you start with the customer and work backwards, right? You think about the customer. One of my trick interview questions is, have you bought any gadgets recently? And of course, almost everybody I interview has bought a gadget recently. What do you like about it or what you don't like about it? And that really helps people think about. I really find it interesting to hear what people find innovative and what people find that they like about it, and can they talk about it. And so I'm really glad that we're getting that design mentality spread out through all the disciplines so that students are familiar with thinking about the customer. It's so, so important. And learning how to do research with end users and how to meet those people and how to categorize those people. And recently, unfortunately recently, but we've starting to realize, working with getting women into our research groups, getting underrepresented minorities into our research groups are just super important, and we get a whole new perspective. So I would also encourage you, as you're setting up that program, to think about the demographics of the people that are your customers, and can you get to know those groups too as you do your design work.
Greg, this motivates a question that I was thinking about, and that is, it has been said that workforce diversity is the Achilles heel of Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and so I can't explain how we've wound up where we're at, but we've wound up at a place that makes it hard to attract talent, a diverse set of talent, and we desperately need to do that. And so it's partially a Silicon Valley problem, but I am super excited to be working with the University of Illinois and supporting the ARISE program, where we get kids from certain schools that just aren't quite ready to go into the challenge of a big university environment and give them an extra year to learn. And we wind up that we find that we get a more diverse set of candidates from that in that program. And so I'm super excited about that program. So everything, I think, from working with more young kids to get them interested in STEM. I'm so excited about STEM. I'm so excited about the DIY culture, all the way through training that we need to do for our managers. Our managers obviously need more training, in my mind, need more training on working to attract diverse talent. How do you just interact with people that are different than you and you're just not used to it, maybe you're not comfortable with it. So I think a lot of work that we need to do is to go into that sort of training. So I think it's super important. I'm super excited by it, but it's clearly a big challenge for us.
I want you to know we are helping too. I can tell you that at Illinois, if you think about STEM, we have progressed by leaps and bounds in the number of women and underrepresented groups that we have. Our incoming class this past fall was 22% from underrepresented groups.
That's fantastic.
30% of the assistant professors in engineering are women. Changes that I know are going to have a significant impact of helping Silicon Valley and the world.
Yeah, I'm super encouraged. We have I've watched I work with the intern program heavily every year. We have several hundred interns that come in, and I'm so happy to see that group is diverse. So I'm super excited by that.
Excellent. So I think we have a few prospective students in the audience. If there are any, please raise your hand. Let me see. Yes, we have a few. So acknowledging this future Illini, if I would like each and every one of you to give them an advice, they are ready to go to college, what are, in your opinion, the things that should try to make out of their experience as a college student? I'll start with you, Jay.
So I will do a quick story. So I have a daughter, she's also just graduating high school, and I shared with one of you that I actually told her to create pros and cons list of options she's considering. And when she was considering breadth of courses, faculty, role models, and other things, but one thing that I can say for sure is that there are so many resources if you consider University of Illinois, which is obviously a great school, but at the same time, you have to then focus by the time you're in sophomore or junior year, you start focusing on something, a field or a subfield or other things, and then just master that thing as you go towards your senior year. And I would say that when we as employers, when we look for students, we will ask you questions like, what courses you enjoyed the most, why did you enjoy those courses? And having hired engineers for 20 plus years, I can say one thing: when you're passionate about something, it just comes through. When your body language changes, you start saying things with conviction, and then if we can match our job profile with your passion, we know for sure you will do well. So when you go to the college, explore things in the first couple of years, figure out what you like. Even just in computer science, there is so much diversity, or you may go to civil engineering, whatever the major might be, or business. Explore a few things, and then start developing an opinion on what you like, why you like it, and just go and pursue that. Everybody would recognize, if you are a specialist in something, people will recognize and appreciate it. If you have a problem with your foot and you go to a general doctor versus a specialty doctor, you know the difference you get, and it's the same thing is true. Yeah.
Sanjay?
So I think, I just, because of, thanks to friendship with you and others at, like in the entrepreneurship group in Illinois, I think one thing which is, I would say that most of you, when you're graduating, something like 50 to 60% by the end of this decade or whatever, right, will be working for yourself. And Illinois has developed a really, really sophisticated entrepreneurial infrastructure. So I would say take advantage of that. Go do a pitch fest or whatever, try to apply for those, the startup grants and all that. If nothing else, you learn how to work in a team, you develop skills to go out there, pitch, and who knows, maybe you go and build the next Facebook. But I think taking advantage of the really substantial entrepreneurial infrastructure which Illinois has created, I think it'd be a shame not to take advantage of it. So that would be my my biggest advice.
Greg?
Well, I hope you've taken notes, because CJ and Sanjay gave you some great advice. I would say just 3 little quick topics. One is take advantage of the professors at your college. They're smart. You can learn a lot from them. Get to know them. I wasn't very good at that, and I wish, in retrospect, I wish I had spent more time getting to know them. Second, I would say get in the lab and build stuff. Get some dirt underneath your fingernails. Build some things. Some of the things will work and some of the things that won't work, but you might find that you learn more from the things that didn't work because I thought this would work, but didn't figure out why it didn't work. And then third, I would say, work on those soft skills. It's super important that you're able to work with other people. It's super important that you can communicate well with other people. Your writing skills are very, very important when you get in the workplace. Can you write a nice, maybe you have some great idea, but can you write a nice document that explains your idea and present that idea to either your boss or some VC or something like that. So those are the 3 areas, I think.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your wisdom and your thoughts. Please join me in congratulating our panelists for a very thoughtful conversation.
Hey, welcome to Sesame Street and Hooper's store. I'm enjoying an orange and blue milkshake. I've got my Illini scarf and jacket on, and let's just say the letter of the day today is I. So we're gearing up for season 50 of Sesame Street, where I'm the vocal music director, music editor, and one of many composers. I just want to thank the U of I for all the great experiences there and for my professors that guided me from Green Street, or technically West Nevada Street, to Sesame Street. And while my career veered from teaching music in the public schools, I technically still teach music to our incredibly talented young cast, which includes Elmo and Big Bird and Abby Cadabby.
Hey, did you call me Mr. Rudolph?
I sure did.
What's going on? Why are you dressed in orange and blue?
Well, I'm giving a tour of Sesame Street to the University of Illinois, where I went to school to learn about music.
Wow! Wait, to learn about music
Yep.
that you teach us? Is that where you learned that music is everywhere? And you taught us that we could even play a bicycle? That really cool song you wrote, what was it? Oh, Bike Shop with a Beat.
Yep, indeed.
Ah, that was so fun. Hey, what are those? Woo, they're so shiny.
Well, those are my Emmys. There's Emmy, Alma Mater, Emmy.
Ooh, one of these things is not like the other. Hey, what'd you get the awards for?
Well, that's kind of a behind-the-scenes thing. Do you think maybe you could poof me to my office studio?
Anything for you, Mr. Rudolph. Let me get my wand and zippity-zap.
Okay, so here we are in my office studio. This is where I do all the vocal music editing on my Pro Tools system. We actually record all the vocals here in the vocal music booth. All the cast come in here and record. We've had celebrity singers in here as well. Audra McDonald, Alan Cummings, Macklemore was in here recording. And then just in the 10 years that I've been here, here's just a few of the incredible musical guests we've had on the show, which really is a testament to the full 50 years of music on Sesame Street. So this is kind of the boring stuff. I think we should go back to the steps of 1, 2, 3 Sesame Street. Abby? Okay, so we're back on the steps of 1, 2, 3 Sesame Street. Abby, did you know that the University of Illinois is over 150 years old?
Wow.
It's true.
Hey, did you play any music while you were there?
I sure did. I sang in the university chorus, I was a percussionist in the symphonic band, I was in the marching Illini drum line, and I actually wrote drill charts for the whole marching band that they performed on the field, over 300 musicians.
Wow.
We got to play in front of thousands of people at Memorial Stadium. That's where the Illini play football.
Wow. Hey, that's pretty cool. What is a Illini?
Illini? Well, that's what you call a person that went to Illinois. And we had a great chant. So what we do at the stadium is we chant I-L-L-I-N-I back and forth in the stadium. You want to try that?
Yeah, I
so
do.
I'll say I-L-L,
And
you say I-N-I.
I-N-I.
Right? So
Okay.
I-L-L.
I-N-I.
I-L-L.
I-N-I.
I-L-L.
I-N-I.
That's the idea. Yeah. So thank you, University of Illinois.
Well, I'm certainly no Abby Cadabby, but perhaps we should give that a try. I-L-L. We can do better than that. There's nearly 700 of you in this room tonight. I-L-L. That's much better. We would like to say a very special thanks to alumnus Paul Rudolph, who took time out of his very busy schedule to film and record the behind-the-scene tour of Sesame Street, and I certainly hope you enjoyed it. We're also sincerely grateful for the continuing involvement of our alums like CJ Desai and Sanjay Srivastava and Greg Zier, who you heard from this evening, and I think we should give them another round of applause. As well as our provost, Andreas Kangelaris, for moderating the discussion. Thank you. Over the past 150 years, Illinois has shaped the future of more than 500,000 alums, as well as countless others who have benefited from our innovations, our discoveries, and our collaborations. Our achievements are truly remarkable. To ensure our excellence for the next 150 years, we need the support of our alums and our friends more than ever before. So we have embarked upon the most ambitious campaign to date, with the goal of raising gifts in support of Illinois students, Illinois faculty, research, and infrastructure. With you, we will continue to elevate the values that makes Illinois distinctive: a sense of boundless aspiration, collaborative research, and global perspective. And we will continue to honor the people who have shaped the culture and the characteristic of this place: our students, our faculty, our staff, our alums, our friends, and of course, our donors. Thanks to hundreds of thousands of gifts to date, we are well on our way and way ahead of our campaign pace toward raising $2.25 billion by 2022. Come on. Gifts of any size that come from our alums, and these gifts come from alums across more than 50 states and 100 countries around the world. And I know firsthand that many of you in this room this evening have already participated in this campaign, and for that, each and every one of us are sincerely grateful. For those who have not yet, thank you. Come on. Doesn't hurt to applaud these things. For those of you who have yet to find a passion, we want to encourage you to make your difference at Illinois, and there's certainly still time for you to do so. Whether your passion remains with the degree you earned during the last few years, or whether that degree was in the 90s or maybe sometime in decades before, I would like you to consider the University of Illinois as one of your philanthropic priorities. Take the first step and visit the website on the screen to learn more about the endless opportunities at your alma mater. If you like what you see, I encourage you to make a gift to one of our academic units, like our College of Law, or Liberal Arts and Sciences, or the Carle Illinois College of Medicine. And we're so pleased to have the deans of those colleges join us here this evening. So thank you, deans, for being here. Or perhaps your interests are a bit broader. Maybe you're more interested in athletics, maybe the library, the Siebel Center for Design, or the Krannert Center, or more your style. Either way, with your continued support of Illinois, I cannot wait to see what's next, because I believe with you, with Illinois, we will change the world. So thank you for joining us this evening. Please stay and mingle. And it's a pleasure to say thank you for coming, and good night to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
When the world is ours, the world is not your kind of feeling. Full of shooting stars, brighter as the vanishing. Oh, you've seen enough to know it's children who teach. You're still free.